where did Blights and Calamity get their unique ancient weaponry from? No, seriously, where? To find out, we're gonna need to go on a bit of a journey. So strap in, subscribe to the channel, and let's go! Currently, we are located in Gerudo Highlands. It is home to snow, rock, some more snow, and a very suspicious looking bokoblins. For some reason, they seem like they'd be ready to invade another country any moment now. Huh. Weird. Anyway, while rocks are indeed very interesting, we are here for a different reason. See, there's no clear origin to Blight Weapons. All we can really do is guess. And it just so happens that the first and most obvious of those guesses leads us right here. A little history lesson. Yiga are a rogue clan of Sheikah who rebelled against the royal family of Hyrule and swore loyalty to Ganon back in the times after the first calamity. Sometime after the war ended, Hylian royalty grew wary of Sheikah and their powerful technology, and somehow came to the bright conclusion that the best way to stave off this imaginary threat is persecution of their longtime allies. In order to keep the peace, Sheikah agreed to abandon and bury their technological marvels, along with all knowledge that came with them. Well, most of the Sheikah did. Some, rightfully, felt hurt by this turn of events, refused to cast away their technology, and left the tribe, to then form what we now know as the Yiga clan. Thus, we now have people with the full extent of knowledge of the ancient technology who are all commonly seen using it in combat. Foot soldiers can teleport, blade masters can control earth on top of that, and Master Koga has access to protective shields, spikeball summons, and magnesis. Then it is entirely possible that the weaponry with which Blights are outfitted had its source right here. Since Yiga are openly allied with Ganon and had the means of design and production, it's not a stretch to assume that they were responsible for creation of that technology. Or is it? While this theory is very convincing and fits neatly into the established history of Hyrule, there is a problem with it. Yiga are bumbling idiots! They don't seem like people who would be able to advance or construct such complex technology, and we lack evidence to the contrary. If they indeed have knowledge of how to create ancient weapons, they would use them themselves, but they don't. If they could build a divine beast, large or small, they would have every reason to do so, but they didn't. If they could advance the technology, there'd be no reason not to. Yet ancient monk Maskoshia can do everything a Yiga can, and more. Similar to how most people in our world can use the internet, but very few know how it actually works, Yiga might just be a group of people who only ever knew how to use the ancient technology, not how to make it. They would have passed their fantasy tablets down through generations, and if there ever were efforts to reverse engineer, they failed. Those are all just assumptions, however. You can't prove a negative. We don't have enough evidence to conclusively say that Yiga are the source of Blight Weapons, but we also aren't able to fully deny it. All we can do is deal in likelihoods, which is why the origin of those weapons is so hard to trace. I'm getting sick of the cold. Let's move on already, shall we? Next stop, Great Plateau. Very interesting and outright weird spot, the Great Plateau. It's a place of shocking concentration of extremely important landmarks, and it seems to hide a whole lot deep under its surface. One such place is Maskoshia's dwelling. He is a standout example of an ancient monk, the only one to ever show us their true capabilities. As it turns out, monks are very mobile and have full access to ancient technology similar to Yiga, except unlike Yiga, monks were alive when it was still being created and when the decision to bury it had been made. Do I think Mascosia is the culprit here? No, absolutely not. Generally, I would not suspect the monks as a collective. They aren't evil. The idea of a singular rogue monk, however, is not completely off the table, so let's entertain the thought. Technically, a monk like that could have been Ganon's supplier. In practice, this theory seems extremely weak and unlikely. Swapping out Yiga for a monk does alleviate some of the concerns with our previous idea, but not all of them. While monks seem far smarter than Yiga, we really have no clue if they can design and build ancient technology. It might very well be way outside their skill set. We could try to speculate that maybe this monk didn't invent and or make those weapons, but instead knew where they were hidden and passed that knowledge on to Ganon, but there really isn't any reason to believe they would have this kind of information. They're monks, not military personnel. And all that might not even matter, because this idea hinges on rogue monks being a thing, and there is exactly zero evidence in support of them ever existing. It doesn't even feel probable. While not much is known about the origin of the monks, it is pretty safe to assume they wouldn't be any random shika. These people were, in all likelihood, highly respected and extremely devoted to Hylia. The probability of one of them turning into a rogue agent and supplying Calamity with murder weapons is astronomically small. Thus, it is best to assume that rogue monks don't exist, even though we cannot prove it. Consequently, the idea of monks being the source of blight weapons is a bust. That be it then, right? Despite the previous doubts, Yiga remained the only option. It must have been them who did it, because if not, then who else? Why is there so much runtime left? Oh, alright. Weapons used by blights might not be new inventions. They don't need to be. Shika discarded and buried a wealth of different items, swords, shields and such among them. When modern Hyrule was excavating divine beasts, many people were present on site. Majority of them were random workers needed to unearth the machines. All it would take was one Hylian willing to steal some items in exchange for rupees. It probably wouldn't even be that hard. Ancient weapons are rather compact and don't even look like weapons to an untrained eye, which in this scenario was all of them. All of the eyes were untrained. Frankly, it wouldn't even need to be a bribed Hylian. Yiga, while they are certified doofuses, are veritable masters of disguise and have been actively engaging in acts of sabotage during that period. They could have easily snuck into the excavation site impersonating workers. Because they never rejected Shika technology, they'd have a clear advantage over everyone else present. They would know exactly what they were looking for. And after they found it, it would be equally as easy to either walk or teleport out, away from the scene. What I love about this idea is that it further plays into the Oedipian tragedy that is the Great Calamity. If this theory were true, it would mean that King Rome, by trying to avert the impending doom, supplied Ganon not only with the death machines that razed Hyrule to the ground, but also with weaponry that killed the champions defending their beasts. This idea has only one problem. Why would such unique weapons be just lying around divine beasts and guardians? Why wouldn't there be more of them? And if they weren't unique and there was more present, how come Hylians didn't try to use them? Well, there are a few possible answers. There could have been a few more, but they were broken, or maybe Sheikah did attempt to study them but ran out of time. Robbie's ancient weapons were only invented decades after the Calamity struck, after all. This is all weak and extremely speculatory, however, and thus unreliable. So, in summary, the possible answers to our question seem to boil down to Yiga made the weapons, someone, but probably Yiga, stole them, or maybe a monk did it. Maybe. Possibly. Yeah, no, it's Yiga.